welcome to Monster Monday. I have my mic plugged in this time because I just recorded a few minutes without it plugged in. Fucking fantastic. Anyway, oh, these damn audio issues. They'll be the damn death of me. I'll tell you what. Shout out to Brenda. Hi. She made her way back into my life, and just want to say, I don't hate you. Okay? Anyways, The Monster Project, a film I've been wanting to cover on the channel since I watched it. I did do a spoiler-free discussion on it when it came out. I was a big fan of it, and I was looking to see how this would hold up this time, and it held up pretty well. I don't know if I'm as high on it, but one thing I do love about this movie is that, like, once it gets going, it is relentless. Now, that might not work for something. That might not work or something for somebody. You know, some people might just be like, this is too much. Like, I feel like with found footage, people have this notion of, like, less is more. And I do think that is true a lot of the time. But then there's films like this that come out, and I find them to be just thrilling. Like, while it's going, it's just fun. I mean, that's really what this film is more than anything. It's just pure fun. But yeah, so we have the found footage here, which this did end up on my top 10 lesser known found footage films. And I would still keep that on here. I still think this is a very fun time. I'm glad that I went back and revisited it. So we got the guys here opening with this found footage that they're making. They're creating it fake, so that they can get views on YouTube. So the main guy here, he decides he wants to up the ante. He's going to put an ads on Craigslist, and he's going to try to lure in monsters to work on the Monster Project. It's going to be this, like, YouTube show or some kind of show. And so they send out the invitations, I guess, and they get a response from a demon, a vampire, and a skinwalker, aka werewolf, but more Native American version of it. And so we have a kind of a motley crew of sorts here. We've got the main guy who is kind of at odds with the girl in this. She used to be his girlfriend, and then he kind of bailed on her out of nowhere, disappeared for a little while, and then came back into her life, and she was like, absolutely not, fuck you. You got a recovering drug addict who's lying to his friends and is actually taking drugs the entire time. You've got the comedic relief, who's the cameraman of the film, who I do find to be pretty funny at times. And then you've got the girl, who is mostly just dealing with her kind of love triangle situation, where she kind of might have something for the drug addict, but her heart really lies with the guy who she thinks is an asshole, and she's like beating herself up because she's like, no matter what this guy does to me, I still return to him. I think a lot of us can relate to that, unfortunately. And then some of us are healthy and we never get into the situations like that, but unfortunately I can't say that's true for myself. The addict angle of this film feels pretty genuine. Like, this guy sells it very well. He very much feels like an addict, and he kind of looks like someone I would know to be one. So they did a very good job with that. And it is dramatic and sad at times. Like, his story, I feel like the focus of this movie is on his story. So maybe he should be the main guy, but I didn't write anybody's names down. Typical. Actually, no, that's not true. I did. That's Brian, the drug addict, right? And then Devin is the guy who double crosses them. That's the guy I was referring to as the main character. Jamal is the comic relief. And then the girl, I wrote them all down somewhere in my notes, but we'll get there. But yeah, so they start meeting up with monsters. The first is this little petite little Asian girl who is possessed by this demon, and I think one thing this movie's missing, and it's kind of something I was talking about when I reviewed The Possession of Michael King, was that everything just works so fast, you know? And I feel like they should have interviewed like 10 monsters, 3 of them being real, and then multiples of them being full of shit. And they could have exposed them, and it would have added to the doubt of the characters and why they would put themselves into this situation, because they've already dealt with so many frauds. You know what I mean? Like, they just go all in on one thing. Now, this all makes sense, kind of, because Devin is betraying them. He is just trying to get them there for this so that they can summon the Antichrist. Now, why they'd have to go to these lengths, why they'd need to film it, that's the kind of stuff I feel like you don't want to think about. Like, he could have easily just brought over these monsters to their house and taken them and then done the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really need to be as elaborate as it was. So that's something you just got to accept in the film. But that's fine. I don't really care. I mean, it's still fun, and I think the reveal's cool because it makes perfect sense that he disappeared for a while and now he's come back and he has this going on. That makes perfect sense, and it's not something you're really thinking about in the moment. So that was it's a good twist. Albeit like a little over the top, but that's all right. The X drama, I feel like, between everybody is very good. I think all the acting in this is fairly good, pretty good. So I like the love triangle. I like the girl kissing the stoner guy and him being like, "Wait, what the hell?" And she's like, "It was a mistake." That's so fucked up to do. I mean, I'm not here to preach on this one. I have been fucked up. I definitely have broken hearts, and I've done things that I shouldn't have done, and regrettably. But that said, I feel like I'm an authority on it because I have done it, and it's fucked up. Like, if you don't have feelings for someone and you have a damn hard suspicion, now she's just in a moment of weakness, she's drunk, he's listening, I totally get it. Doesn't make it any less fucked up, and she knows it's fucked up. But then his feelings are all over the place at that point, and that's why it's fucked up. And it makes perfect sense. And he's so mad at himself. And that's just it. The way the addict is played in this. There's 2 addicts in this, and I really like how both are played. So you got the one normal addict, the drug addict, and how he's dealing with it. And he's recording this video journal, and he's lying to his friends. And then, like, when he's exposed, he's so angry because he knows at that point that no one's ever going to trust him again. No one's going to believe him again. It's over. He's been, the jig is up. He's been exposed. And that's fucking sad. Like, it is. Like, he shouldn't have been lying and he shouldn't have done this. But addiction's that weird thing. Like, if you're not an addict, you'll never understand addicts. If you don't suffer from anxiety, you'll never understand anxiety. If you don't suffer from a lot of different kinds of things, I just don't feel like you're ever going to get it. And addiction's one of those things. Somebody who isn't an addictive type of person is going to be like, I don't get it. Just don't fucking do the drugs. And it's like, I think you're missing the whole addict thing. Like, it's a different type of mentality. Like, their brains just function differently than yours, right? I know because I have addictive qualities. And in other areas than maybe most people would. So I do understand. And I feel like my anxiety is almost an addiction into itself, because I just can't seem to, no matter how disconnected I am, no matter how hard I push, no matter how much I work, I don't feel like I'm ever fully in control of keeping it at bay. And it's very fucking annoying and frustrating, because I do put so much effort towards trying to eliminate it. And I mean, as an addict, not me, but in this movie, the guy who's in here, it's sad to watch that he can't break this. Like, yes, I've had friends who betray your trust, and they go back to the drugs, and you just want to punch them in the face, and you're so angry. But at the same time, I'm not them, and I try to empathize. I can only extend that so far. There are, like, things they can do or say or something. You're like, no way, fuck you, forget it, I'm over it. And that's your right. Like, you can do that at any point. So I do feel for the guy in here. Um, but of course, you'd wish that he would be able to stop, but he can't. Now, the whole him asking them to leave the phones in the car thing, this is just bullshit to me. There's no way they would agree to that, A. And B, if they were to even slightly consider that, they would be like, all right, fine, I'll just shut my phone off and I'll keep it in my pocket. It's not going to give any kind... And the explanation he gives is pure nonsense. Like, oh, there's going to be, interference in this. Bullshit. Turn the fucking phones off. Put it on airplane mode. Whatever you got to do. You ain't going to fucking... Come on. That's a stretch, let's say. But, every writer has to come up with a way to eliminate cell phones. Cell phones have become, such a maddening thing for horror writers or movie writers. Like, well, why don't they just get their phones out? They're in their pocket. Can't cut the lines anymore. They don't have that excuse. So they always have to, the no service or the battery's dead. That's the go-to moves here. But this one's, let's put him in the car. I just don't feel like the explanation is good enough. But it is what it is. I don't really care, but I just feel like they could have tried a little harder. Now, the vampire in this, I like that the mythos are played with. That she's like, no, it's not like what you see. It's a little different. And she is the second addict of the movie. And that's something I really like about this, is that the way she discusses her, blood frenzy, her unquenchable bloodthirst is like an addiction. That it's not the only thing she needs for her subsistence. Her sustenance really mostly comes from, I would assume, she doesn't really get into this, but I would assume she just eats food like everybody else, but that it's blood that she's addicted to. Like she needs it like a drug, like a heroin addict would need it. That's a really interesting way to do a vampire. That the blood, and that she can die just like everyone else, and that, I don't know what her age, she says I'm not ageless, so does she age normally, or does she age slow down? Like, I don't know how any of that works, but that being said, I really like that play with that stuff, and the idea of like she can relate to him because he's an addict. She tastes his blood. She can genuinely empathize with him. Like, I get it. I'm an addict too. I relate to you. This is why I need more of you. I love that. I love all of that. I think that's really good writing and really, really smart. And just, I like when films tackle classic monsters and put their own spins on them. Like, I hate when they adhere to anything like just straight, normal, obvious, like garlic, sunlight, have to be invited in, all that. They do some of that here, and basically she's like, all right, everything you've heard is true to an extent. Like, when I'm in the sun, I get hung over. I feel like shit. I feel awful. I'm not gonna die, but I feel dreadful. I love that. They don't burn up. They just feel awful when they're in it. And that's cool. I dig that. Like, play around with it, tweak it, make it like, oh, well, the reason you guys think this is because of this. It's a little different, but it's similar. So that's cool. And then the movie just goes from 0 to 100, I feel. Like, once the monsters come out, it's just full carnage for the rest of the film, and it never, ever lets up. The monsters look great. The only issue is with the CG on the demon. And then, like, the extra added demon face that, like, comes out on her, I don't like that at all. The demon face on her is okay, it's forgivable, but the demon face that, like, comes out, and I'm assuming is showing its real form, like, it's like, exiting her for a second and then kind of coming back or whatever. I don't like it. I think it's cheap, and I think it hurts the film. And I think it would make some people roll their eyes and be like, oh, this looks like shit, this is stupid. And that's a shame. And I can understand it, but I think the rest of the film is solid enough that it doesn't hurt it enough for me to be like, nah. And I like that he stakes her in the face and then blood just pouring out of her face, and then they like look at her and her whole like upper half up here is all melted and the rest of her is normal. I thought that was great. I like the look of all of that, even though it's CG in a way. I don't care. I think the Skinwalker looks fucking awesome throughout. I love it. I love the way the werewolf in this looks. I think it's really, really cool, and it's very scary when it's coming at them. Could you imagine being locked in a house with that thing as it's like lumbering towards you? Terrifying. The whole bent backwards walk thing. Jesus Christ, did they do this in every movie? I feel like ever since The Exorcist got its re-release and we got the spider walk, I feel like everyone's like, oh, we got to do that. Oh, we got to do that. We got to do that. Like the whole bent backwards, walking on the hands, getting the, the contortionist to do that. I like it. I'm not saying I don't like it. I like it most of the time I see it. It's just, it's so overused. It's so overused. So, I don't know, man. That one's a little tough, but whatever. Anyway, and then, so, what's his name? Brian. Brian, our drug addict here, he's dealing with, the reason he can't quit too, in addition to this, is he's mentally traumatized from selling a bad batch of drugs to a bunch of people and getting them killed or really, really sick. So, that, you hear my girls laughing back there, having a good time? that makes me happy for them, but at the same time I want to be like, shut the... Anyway, and the Muriel, that's her name, Muriel. She's possessed, and then dude has to kill her. Brian, right? Isn't that what I said? Yeah. That's sad, man. Could you imagine having to kill the? I always talk about this in movies, or think about this in movies. I think it's in South Park when they all turn into zombies, and then they get on the phone with the operator of the Worcestershire sauce company, and she's like, don't just start decapitating zombies right and left. Like, you can cure them. I feel like this is something that's never explored in zombie movies or any of these things. Like, if you wouldn't have killed your fucking friend, if you wouldn't have killed your wife, you could have saved her. And I've wanted to write a script like that forever. Like, that you can fix this person, but they're hunting you. So you're doing everything in your power to try to find that cure, but like avoid them killing you. But it's like your wife or something, and you're like trying so hard. You can't defend yourself because you don't want to injure her. You know what I mean? So you're like running around trying to find this cure, and the killer is someone that you can't harm because you don't want to kill your wife, and you can cure her. And then she's going to attack other people, and then people are trying to attack her, and you're like, don't kill my wife, don't hurt her. And they're like, you fucking kidding me? She's trying to kill me. It's too bad, too sad, And it's like, that, I think that would make great drama and a great film. So there, I just gave away my secret, one of my scripts. So go for it, write it. I don't give a fuck. You can steal it, just make it good. That's all I ask. Don't make a piece of shit. If you're going to steal my ideas, make it good. Just like I always say, if you're going to cheat on me, cheat on with me with the guy that you're going to marry. Okay? Like, if you're just going to throw it away, it's just some random bang. And that's fucked up. And then I'll be like, what the hell? You couldn't resist. Why couldn't you just break up with me? But if you're like crazy about somebody, and then you like, they end up like 20 years down the road, they're still happy. I'm like, well, I mean, obviously she made the right choice. Look how happy she is. Makes sense, right? Anyway. So you're going to steal my idea, make it good, or I'll fuck you up. And oh man, poor Jamal gets his whole back torn open, and he's like, his whole back and spine are exposed, and he's dealing with that. And I like all the dealing with different injuries. That's why I like the combo of like different monsters. Is like one gets bit and then she's changing, and then another one gets scratched and he's changing. So they're all dealing with different mythos. One's dealing with like vampire stuff or demon stuff and werewolf stuff. I think that's so cool to see in these kinds of movies. And then yeah, he has to stake his friend. That's such a bummer. The fall out the window when he has the head cam on is a really cool effect, and something I feel like would have been really hard to achieve on a low budget. So really cool stunt work there, and a good camera angle. Really cool. And then Brian is the last man standing, and then he has to have this like dream sequence. That said, I said before, this movie has a dream sequence. It's a found footage movie, and somehow it works. Here's the thing. Going back and rewatching it, I feel like, I don't know if I'd consider it a dream sequence. So I was watching and I was like, okay, I think I get what's happening here. Because people would be like, well, how are we getting the footage of what happened in his dream? Like, that doesn't work. That makes no sense. Well, this time around, I think I made it make sense to me. Because I think what's happening here is essentially the demon is creating a world around him that he can see. So we're being able to see his delusion. She's actually being able to bring to fruition a fantasy in front of his eyes, and that the camera can also see. So it is actually there. It is actually happening. And then when he gets knocked out of it, it just knocks his head right, and then the camera sees what's real, just like he does. And the camera can also see what he's being shown. So it's like it's tangibly, physically there in that moment. And so the camera's able to pick it up. So technically it's like a dream sequence, but it's also, he's not like asleep. He's entranced, but the physical world is being manipulated so that the camera can actually pick up that footage. So really, like, I think maybe I'm like stretching a little bit to make it make sense for how it would work for found footage. At the end of the day, it's a fucking movie. Who cares? It's not real found footage, of course. But when I was watching it this time, I was like, oh, I think that works. I think as long as it's like making a mirage that a camera would pick up, then why couldn't it work like that, right? So I'm going with that. That's my head canon, and I'm sticking to it. And then, yeah, I mean, this film ends on a total down note. Like, we find out that Devin is double-crossing them. He's creating the Antichrist, and then, boom, Brian gets his neck slit, and they fulfill the prophecy. The end. And then there's this total lame-ass fuck you jump scare at the end that's completely unnecessary. Fuck off with these. Please stop doing it. The whole jump scare as the credits roll thing, like it goes, and then credits, fuck you. That is so stupid. That's so tired. And remember that story I told you earlier, like if you steal, fuck you up, if you don't do it right? That is added to it. Let me extend that on to the end there. Do not add a fucking stupid ass jump scare to the end of it either, or I'm still coming for you. Even if it's awesome all the way up until that point, I'll be like, you fucked up. Time to go. So yeah, that's what I like to do. I like to threaten my subscribers with physical violence. But the Monster Project. This also comes with Screamers as well as a double feature. When I originally got the disc in the mail, it was just Screamers with the Monster Project in this little poster back here, and I was so fucking annoyed because I never even heard of Screamers, and I thought the Monster Project was so rad that I was like, why is this the double feature? But then when I opened it up, I saw that there was a flip cover that you could put either one, and of course I picked this one. I'll have to watch Screamers at some point, or hashtag Screamers at some point, but I don't know. Behind the scenes making of 45 minutes, audio commentary, and a Smiling Man web series. So yeah, it's got some decent amount of special features on here. But yeah, if you haven't watched The Monster Project, I think if I saw correctly, it is on Amazon Prime, so check it out. I think it's a fun time if you're a found footage fan, or if you're a monster fan. Definitely let me know. I like all the characters. I like, is it a little much at times? Is the CG a little off-putting? Are things questionable here and there? Sure. It's not perfect, but it's a damn fun found footage film, for sure. So if you're into that stuff, you haven't seen it, check it out. Let me know. And adios.